Shout out to my maid, aka friend Kendall, for holding up the screen.
I did not know that was good.
Welcome back for those of you brave enough to stay on the flaming trash wagon that is this channel. Cringe. Okay. For those of you who don't know, which is kind of everyone, my name is Aresevé and welcome to the channel. I forgot my camera, so I'm gonna have to look over to figure out what I'm supposed to say. You can never and will never be the most inspired version of yourself if you are surrounded by people who don't value, respect, or love you in the way that you need to be. This is kind of like I don't know. I know the theme of this video, but it's kind of like I forgot. It's negligence at best and abuse at worst, mosquito. For the first 20 years of my life, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And for most of my life, I took great pride in the fact that I, unlike a lot of the people around me, knew exactly what I wanted to do and exactly what I wanted to be. I knew deep down I didn't want to be a doctor, but I also knew that I didn't want to be poor and I didn't want to be a struggling artist. I figured that the money and the job security would make up for the fact that I was essentially ignoring what I really wanted to do in life. Because honesty is one of the major cornerstones of my personality and my being, it would be a lie if I didn't admit that fear was the major contributing factor in why I didn't pursue it sooner. Click. Now that I'm forced to kind of remember it off the top of my head, it's not that bad, but it's just like the flow. Like it's more editing if I do it like this. It wasn't just me acting on my fear, but it was also me acting on the fears of the people around me. It was a combined and concise effort of the adults around me that culminated into the collective conditioning. Apart from the conditioning, it didn't help that the concerns that were being raised were actually legitimate. I, much like many parentified people, thought that I had a certain degree of agency and personhood that I simply just did not have for my age. I realistically couldn't rely or trust the people around me. Because of the lack of feeling of security and safety, I had to be sure of everything, and I had to feel so adult about everything at such a young age. Long-winded.
A dog is really chasing a squirrel.
Looking back, that mentality made me very vulnerable and susceptible to abuse and manipulation, not just from the adults around me, but anyone who sought to do harm around me. No. This led to me being over accommodating in the face of disrespect. Assigning an extreme and inappropriate level of importance to people who genuinely meant me harm. And I essentially denied myself the pure and genuine kind of joy and excitement that you will experience from life when you go through the growing pains of being a teenager. Instead, it was replaced with a highly toxic and very unsustainable work ethic, leading to 3 major breakdowns in the span of 4 years. Because I'm a very logical and introspective person, naturally my fears took on a sort of life of their own as it pertains to what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Do you want to check it and see how the audio is?
No. I do a voiceover. I really don't care. I'm kind of over this. And I don't got nobody to blame but myself.
I'm proud of you for sticking to your word and still trying to do it, though.
No, literally, like, I used to, that's why I didn't do it for so long, because I would be like, oh, my hair's not done, and I'm not like, oh, like, I'm breaking out today,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, the Mercury's
excuses,
in retrograde, like, you know, like, like, I would just, like, make up excuses, but I realized that you just gotta do it. If you want to do it, you gotta do it, whether it's, like, rain, sleet, or snow. And then a lot of people say, like, you have to make bad art. You just gotta make it. At least it's being made. Like, if you waiting to make something great, you're
gonna lose that
never gonna
greatness
make
because
it.
you're not.
And then also, if you, let's say you paint. If you're trying to make the best painting in your life, but you only produce like one painting a year because you're trying to perfect that one painting, instead of just like painting just period, and you make it maybe like 100 a year, you learn more from that 100, and you gain a greater mastery from that 100, rather than if you're just like doing, you know, like one painting a year. Because even if you do 100 bad paintings, it's still, there's some experience, there's some thing that you're learning when you're doing it bad. But it's just the fact that you're doing it at all. Like 10,000 hours doesn't mean like 10,000 great hours or 10,000 like amazing hours. It's just 10,000 hours period. But yeah,
you should keep that in the video.
I'm keeping that in the video. I'm not ending it out. I also had a major fear that I wouldn't be marketable because of my build, my weight, and my strong personality. Like, a lot of people, like she who shall not be named, she told me, because remember when I was working at that place, and I was like, you know, I'm very sensitive to disrespect, and I've never been more disrespected in my life than when I worked in
customer service.
Yeah, in customer service and fast food. It wasn't fast food, it was service industry. But essentially, me voicing my concerns and my discomfort with being constantly disrespected, she essentially told me, you're never going to make it in the music industry if you are like such a baby about everything, and you're like, and you think everything has to go your way, and you think, you know, she basically was saying you have to learn to roll with the punches. Nobody gonna put their hands on me. I'm not rolling with nothing. I'm not getting punched. I'm not getting punched. And that's not to say that I'm never gonna get punched. It's to say, like, if you do punch me, I'm gonna punch you back.
Yeah.
Because you're not about to, you know, like, I've just never been one of them people that's like, you could just do me anything. Like, I'll blow your car up. You know, that was always the vibe. Okay, so, click. I'm gonna have to edit out all these clicks. Nope. Click. I was just talking. I feel like my biggest fear was the fear that even if I put my all into what I wanted to do, I still wouldn't get the desired goals that I wanted. Because I want, like, you know, I want what all, like people want. I want a Grammy. I want the Billboard Music Award. I want maybe the Country Music Award. You know, I want the Rolling Stones, whatever. I want the cover of Who Knows magazine. You know, I want all of it, and I want Madison Square Garden. But it was just like, but the way the industry is set up right now, even if you try your hardest, you still, you know, I know singers that are like incredible. They're like probably some of the best artists in this generation, and they aren't seeing the success that they deserve, and it's like very discouraging. Click. This fear that I would be left physically, emotionally, mentally, and most important, financially drained from trying to attempt my music career and have it even not work. But now it's kind of like whatever, it's up. If it's up, it's stuck. Oh, I'm gonna have all these sticky things on me. What is this? Is this oregano? Who knows?
You threw that at me.
It's a leaf that fell. You know, leaves fall from trees,
no,
right?
Well, when it fell, I saw a cigarette butt, so I'm like, that's what I was like.
Oh wait, no. Click. Anyone who is of a certain socio-economic and racial background knows that the plan is usually you do well in school, you go to college, and you get a nice, stable career, even though we are now learning that there's no such thing as. These are the myths that have been passed down to us to no fault of our forefathers and elders, who think that, you know, if you work hard enough and you try hard enough, that you will get exactly what you want. But it only pertains to like academics, or academics as it pertains to a career. So like, you go to school, you want to be a doctor, you go to medical school, all you got to do is try hard enough, boom, you're a doctor. And it's kind of like this myth of meritocracy, that if you try hard enough, then you will get everything that you want. But we've been learning as of late that that simply just is not how it works. We don't live in a meritocracy.
I was like, oh, look at us, almost hanging out a year ago from that day at another park.
And we didn't even remember. It was just instinctual.
Yeah.
As someone who struggles with depression, I feel like there's kind of this misconception of what happiness is, because I feel like people with depression, we often think like that there's like a baseline of happiness that we just aren't hitting, or like a, you know, like when people are babies, there's certain markers that you hit when you're a baby, like developmental markers, like, oh, you start walking, you start talking, blah blah blah. And I think a lot of people with depression feel like there's supposed to be like kind of like a happiness developmental marker, and I feel like that's like one of the biggest misconceptions, and really doesn't help in a battle of trying to not fix depression, but like just treat it, and like, I don't know, help people manage it. Happiness to me in my life has always been something that's been very happiness to me has always been something that has wings. There's like a guy being weird. But it's always been something that has wings. It's ever moving and always slightly out of reach. It's always been this kind of thing where it's like, if you don't find it where you are, that means it's just in the next place. Oh, I'm not happy in high school, that means I'll be happy when I get to college. I'm not happy in college, so I'll be happy when I get my career. I'm not happy in my career, so I'll be happy. So I'll be happy when I get my family. And in that is always the next checkpoint. Happiness, much like our insecurities, does not move based on where we go. That's a word. Because unfortunately, we take ourselves everywhere we go. Since the CDC has no reported records of people dying from happiness, we can reasonably assume that it's the negative emotions we're having to cope with. As I get older, I realize that failure isn't the fear only worth having, nor is it the enemy. I have failed at so many things in my life, and now that I look back on it, I'm like so glad that I didn't end up going through with what I initially had planned, because after I usually would reach the end or the expiration date on whatever I had planned or wanted to do, I usually would find that what I was doing was bringing me an immense amount of discomfort. And you know, these are the least successful videos on my channel, just the ones with me talking. Like the Recording Artists Chronicles is the click is like the least performing video. The best performing is the sewing. Everybody likes to watch me like be pissed over sewing. I feel like as I get older, I realize that you get an entirely new set of fears as you get older, such as not even just like the fear that everything won't go well. It's also kind of the fear, like, what if everything does? Because what if you achieve everything that you want to achieve, like, at such a young age, and now you have to, like, build and find an entirely new dream? So, the fear of success is defined as a psychological phenomenon where individuals experience anxiety or apprehension about achieving significant accomplishments, often stemming from societal expectations and the potential negative consequences associated with success, like social disapproval or feeling isolated. If you have lived a life riddled with disappointment and tragedy, then it can become very easy to become comfortable and complacent in where you are as it pertains to moving on in your life and achieving new things that don't involve your trauma or your pain. Click. I'm hungry. Probably should have ate first, but like I said, the camera gonna still roll. Many papers have been published that outline the effect. Oh, that's a bright headlight. The effects and the impact of trauma and how it reshapes and reworks your brain in the way that it functions. We all know that trauma impacts us in the way that we interact with the world in a way that is somewhat indescribable. But I don't think humans in general truly know the extent that trauma plays on the way that we feel and the way that we think about ourselves, but also about ourselves as it relates to our place in the world. A research paper published by L.J. Cozzolino, published in the Journal of Psychotherapy in Australia, outlines the ways in which trauma impacts our mental health and susceptibility to certain mental illnesses. PTSD, borderline personality disorder, and self-harm can all reflect complex adaptations to early trauma. The impact of a wide variety of traumatic experiences is woven into the structure of the personality, often making it difficult to treat. This paper and many others outline the impact of trauma on brain development and how we learn to self-regulate following a traumatic event. It's no secret that prolonged and biologically severe traumatic events can imprint on a person both biologically and emotionally. Because we evolve to be ever-changing and ever-adapting, we have the ability to form a kind of parasitic relationship with our trauma. Best case scenario is for there to be a common celators between ourselves and our trauma. Commentalism. Oh, in a perfect world, there would be a commentalism between us and our trauma, but most people will never and do never achieve this stage. Commensalism is defined as a relationship where one organism benefits and the other is neutral. This is in contrast with parasitism, the relationship where one organism benefits and the other suffers. And this is the kind of relationship a lot of people have with their trauma. These relationships form as a means of helping us function in our day-to-day. It doesn't necessarily account for the fact that our long-term survival depends on us moving on from our trauma, not just necessarily figuring out ways to coexist with it, which is what you need to do long term, but short term you need to work through it, not live with it. So while negative coping mechanisms may be solving you in your day-to-day, long term they cause more harm if not treated. For many of us, these negative emotions become the only constant in our lives, and as we grow older, it becomes harder and harder to dissociate ourselves from these maladaptive coping mechanisms that we've developed. That biology degree was worth every penny, because you heard that maladaptive fixtures. You heard that?
Like, I'm pretty maladaptive.
Maladaptive fixtures, like.
What's that?
We often perceive potential success in relation to our trauma as a direct, attack on our comfortability, because with that success or perceived success comes, how do I replicate it? What do I do after I achieve it? And then what happens after the success, which kind of leads back to like finding a new dream after you completely achieve what you wanted to achieve. Chapter 3, Envy and Love Cannot Cohabitate. This is dedicated to you, Pookie. You know who you are. When we don't have enough first-hand positive experiences in our lives when pursuing something new, or trying something new, we often look to our support systems. Okay, I think that's enough for today.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna film the rest at home.
I thought you said you didn't want to switch it up.
I meant here.
Wait, it's okay to finish the rest of the video at home?
You're a director now? All right, Kendall wants to. We could keep going. No, leave it. I guess let's finish it.
I mean, you said you want to be true to it. We're here.
It's not like the video wasn't gonna get posted. It was just gonna get half at the park in the nature, and it was gonna get half in that bed.
We're already at 3rd chapter. We only got 1 more to go. Why go halfway?
Because it's the easy thing to do.
Huh?
Because it's the easy thing to do.
Yeah, but we want to keep the promises we made to ourselves.
Who said I wasn't keeping the promises?
Yeah, but you said you were going to do it here to watch the sunset and all that.
I mean, but I forgot the camera. The video should have ended when the camera wasn't present.
But it didn't, because you don't give up.
Ooh. It is usually our hope that the people around us will be happy and just excited about the things that we want to do, even if they can't necessarily see the vision that you can see. I believe we hope so much for a positive response when we bring this kind of news to our support systems that it can be highly damaging when we don't necessarily get the response that we might necessarily want to get. One of the things I don't think we really talk about enough is the fact that when you pursue something new and when you start a new life that also includes leaving people behind, I feel like altering your life and your ambitions in a drastic way really shows you very quickly who is and who is not in support of you and the things that you want to do. We as a collective are often taught to pursue lives that for the most part are safe, but often uninspiring, very boring. We're entering the booty part of this video, so the back part. So nothing is wrong with the fact that you need external validation from the people around you. The idea that you yourself can be an island and derive all of the emotional and mental support that you need from yourself is very dangerous and very untrue. Mostly everything about humans is non-solitary and highly communal based. So it would be unsustainable to try to do this method of living your life. Fundamentally and biologically, we need community and external validation in order to develop and grow into our own versions of decent people? Somewhat decent people. Our personalities, as crazy as it seems, is a series of learned behavioral patterns that we take on. So why have we made it like this kind of trend to become purely emotionally dependent on ourselves to learn our patterns that basically create our personalities? If you couldn't tell by now, the point of this video and section of the video in general is that community is everything. And since I got my degree in biology, which was very expensive, I needed to get my money's worth. So that's why this last chapter is here. The end. Shout out to my maid, aka friend Kendall, for holding up the screen.